If you take a black man and bring him up in England, and he'll speak with an Oxford accent. If you take a black man and bring him up in Germany, he says, Deutschland über alles, just like a German. There's no such thing as innate black behavior, or that men are basically greedy. All that's bullshit. You get that in your culture because you're given the blame in this culture. And the reason marriage was set up, if you were around screwing 50 women, they would know who the babies belong to. So when you get married in the community, they all know you're responsible for the babies from that young lady you're with. So marriage was an institution to save the kings and the noblemen from supporting your kids. It's a bullshit profession. And then if you don't get along, by the way, the lawyer says he costs you $2,000 to split it up. Who the hell is he? How does he come up with that? If you don't like the guy, why can't you walk out? The lawyer says you got to go through this procedure. And then this guy with a white collar that pronounces you man and wife. Who the hell is he? How can he pronounce you man and wife? And in the Bible it says two people that really love each other, no one can put us under. If you really like a person, your parent says, I don't want you going with that guy, you don't give a damn. Okay. You have another question?
Yeah. In the examples you gave about how people used to work in elevators and then machines assembling automobiles on assembly lines, with more technology, that's going to become more prominent, and there's going to be, if machines are better at doing things than humans, then they're going to do them and not humans. So what are humans supposed to do?
First of all, I know a little guy that designed it, and they say to me, can a machine be better than the guy that designed it? This little guy designed a machine as big of a freight train and empty it. He can't do that. The guys that design machines that move Coke bottles along, he can't move them that fast. Machines are always faster than the designer. So, your question, what do people do? What will people do? There'll be art centers, music centers, produce plays, write concerts, travel, sail, scuba dive, restore the reefs, invent things. Every soldier will be sent back to school to become a social innovator, a person that works on problem solving. What a wonderful world we would have if we had soldiers that worked on problem solving. Do you understand what I'm saying? The profession of a soldier is a nothing. A police officer is generally, I hope there's some police officers here, is a nothing profession. We can design cars today. When you get to a 60-mile-an-hour zone, the power output is 60 miles an hour. You can step on the gas till you're blue in the face, and it won't go any faster. We can design things today so you don't need laws. All 90% of man-made laws are strictly bullshit. The only laws that count, by the way, is a natural law. If you don't get enough sleep, nutritious food, you get sick, no matter what your philosophy is. But religion is one of the major conflict generators because it tells you such a thing as right and wrong, good and bad. That depends on the culture. I think judges would be considered criminals in the future. I think that lawyers in the future would be considered criminals. So a lot of things you call right today, a young man flying in an airplane presses a button and drops napalm over a village, you call him a war hero. We call them criminals. But they don't. You know what the old definition of a criminal was? One who removes an object in your possession without your permission. They've changed that definition. Today, it's one who's caught. That's better, isn't it? So Washington is loaded with them, as you see on your news bill. And the other question. Yes, you back there.
You talked about how, like new history books and stuff like that, how we tend to keep things hidden that maybe we don't want to hear, maybe war crimes that people, Americans in general in the past have committed. So it's sort of like censorship, I guess. How would you, present information that's previously censored to people who don't really want to see it? Because, I believe in the whole thing of ignorance is bliss. How would you, get rid of censorship and bring everything to the forefront, and still, if people don't want to see that, how would you, sort of force that upon them?
If censorship was done away with, how would you get people to look at that information that they're not?
First of all, I don't know what you mean by censorship. In the future, you can read anything you want to read, but you can't hurt anybody. If you hurt them, you're helped. You're not put in prison. Okay? We don't have any need for censorship. If say, one guy wants to build an airplane with a swept forward wing, another guy wants to build with swept back, who decides? We build swept forward, swept back. We don't have to worry about how much will it cost. We have the resources. See, so you're permitted to try anything. If you want to try to make a pill that increases the oxygen in your blood so you can swim underwater for an hour and a half, you're not allowed to give it to your son, but you can try it on yourself. Is that all right?
I think he was asking if you don't have censorship, how you keep, let's say, information that a person doesn't want away from them.
I wouldn't know what information a person.
Let's just say, for example, you don't want to see pornography.
I want what?
Let's say, for example, a person does not want to see what we now call pornography. And you have no censorship. So the assumption is that
I
pornography...
didn't say we don't have no censorship. Somebody else said that.
Okay.
We
Well,
do
I was just
have-
trying to explain his question.
We educate children to be able to relate to one another, to speak, communicate with a referential language. That means today, I believe most of you have been brought up to believe that everyone should have a right to their own opinion. Isn't that true? Most of you? Okay. Let's say you live across the street from me, and I see 10 guys coming out of your apartment. I can have all kinds of opinions, right? You can be a language instructor, a ballet instructor, but if you give everybody the right to their own opinion, you're generating a lot of new problems. I would make things available to people. Anything they wanted to know, we tell them where to look it up. Like the internet, you can find out a great many things. So let people have access to information, what they call transparency. Then there's no need for hurting people. There'd be no prisons in our society, no police, no armies, no navies, no authority that you have to answer to. We build sailboats for your use. You don't have to come up to Fresco and say, can I use a sailboat this Sunday? I say, there's 50 people before you. We build more than required, so you can take it out yourself. The only difference is your sailboat is monitored by satellite. In case there's fire at sea, we know where to go to get you. Not Big Brother watching you. I'm talking about safety for your own good. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's no need to hurt anyone. Yeah.
Aren't you going to need population control to make sure that the resources are never exceeded?
I couldn't get that.
You have to have population control so that it doesn't exceed the resources.
Well, when you use the term population control, that scares people. We do a survey of what the carrying capacity of the earth is, and that tells us how many people the earth can support. If you exceed that, you're going to have malnutrition, disease, and territorial disputes. Do you understand that? So many acres can support so many people. If you put more than what the ground can support, you're going to have disease, malnutrition, and problems.
So how do you make sure that you don't exceed the limits of the resources?
Well, the survey committee tells us how many hospitals we need.
Educate people.
They have to be educated.
Yeah.
But is it going to be done by birth control or euthanasia?
You have to educate people.
Right, well,
To
educating people
understand.
doesn't stop people from producing people. There's lots of intelligent people that big.
We showed them a film called Dynamic Equilibrium in Nature. If you produce more people than a land can support, these are the problems you're going to have. Now, if they don't seem to understand that, that's another problem.
There's
That's
lots
what
of
you
ways
talk
of
about.
birth control.
Right.
You're talking about people who don't understand dynamic equilibrium?